And welcome back to Coast. I'm George Norry. Stefan Sindoni back with me, was with me about 3 years ago as we talked about parts of the Hollow Earth. He's a researcher. Early age, he was a little boy. He was an avid reader, spent a lot of time learning about American history, ancient civilizations, Greek mythology. And in order to uncover some of these ancient truths, he came to the realization that, you know what, he was an old soul living in a new embodiment. And here he is back on Coast to Coast, the newer version, Stefan Sindoni. Hey, Steph, how are you?
Pretty good, George. Thanks for having me on, George.
My pleasure. You know what? This story of the Hollow Earth is amazing. So many people are interested in this. Over the last several years, you haven't let go of this story. What have you been doing?
Well, the reason I haven't let go of it, George, is because it became personal. After reading the story and becoming enthralled by it, and basically I'll just start off. It's a man who shows up in the office of the Stockton editor's office in 1934 and claims to have discovered an ancient civilization 30 years earlier in 1904 while employed as a geologist for the Lord Cowdray Mining Company of England. So after reading this story in this Emily A. Frank book, I just felt unexplainably attracted to it, jotted down 7 clues, as I recall, from the legend, and decided to research the legend and try to solve it. But in the process of that, George, I was able to acquire photos of the man of the legend and handwriting samples, and lo and behold, it was like looking at a bookend, and there I was. And then when I matched up my signature to his, it was identical.
Are you saying that you're the reincarnated version of this guy?
No doubt about it, absolutely.
Other people beginning to agree with you?
Well, anybody who sees the photo, I had in the studio, we did a morph with the photo that I had and myself in the same position, the same angle, and when we dropped the photo down, everything lines up completely. And we're the same height, same build, we have the same mouth, the same posturing. And when I got his border crossings coming through Laredo, I decided, I was in the library at the time, and I'm there in front of the librarian. I'm looking at it. I said, just for the heck of it, let me just look at it once and then quickly just try to sign it just the way that I saw it the first time. I turned, on the back of the piece of paper, and when I did that, I put them up side by side, and there it was, probably 98% similar, and I was like, holy Toledo.
The guy's name was John Benjamin Body, but they called him J.C. Brown, right?
That is correct, yes.
What do we know about him?
Well, what we know is that he shows up in 1934, and he tells a representative of the Stockton Record that while he was employed for the Lord Cowdray Mining Company of England in 30 years earlier, in 1904, that he came across an unusual rock basalt formation, and upon discovering it, he decided to dig it out. And after he started digging it out, 3 miles from the mouth of the tunnel, he found that there was gold-bearing ore that he believed was mined from an earlier race. Kept going, said the air was bad there, and he went approximately 11 miles inside the mountain, and at approximately a 2,300 feet level below the surface, he struck what he called the village. So he comes into a village where he says he found rooms with 12 feet copper tablets. They were 3 or 4 inches in concave. They were laid inside one another. Rooms were filled full of plates inscribed neatly. He found rooms with weapons, tempered gold spears, and what really blew him away was that the streets were laid out in a village, and in one room what he found was skeletons that were anywhere from 6 feet 6 inches tall up to 10 feet or more. Another room he found an embalmed, what he believed was a king and queen in robes, royal robes that we believe were the king and queen of that race. So he also found worship rooms. On the wall he found 3 giant crosses, not of the conventional modern type. He found a sun streamer worked in gold and copper. He said that he believed there were 13 statues that were made of gold and copper. And he said that he believed that this race was a people that were an important link in American history, that because they were highly skilled craftsmen, and the statues glowed as if they would use radium to make these statues. So he believed that they used radium to temper the copper. Now, this was back in 1904 when he made this discovery. So what he told the editor of the newspaper is that he wanted to enlist a corps of trained people who would pay for their services to assist him in cataloging these specimens, and the relics in this cave he wanted to remain intact. So there were 2 other caves there that he had located, and for those who would go with him up back to the Cascade Mountain Range area, he would then let them have the items in those 2 other caves.
How big underground was this?
Well, he claimed that it was a village that he ran into, so it was like a mini little town there that he encountered.
Huh. And what happened to the occupants, the inhabitants?
Well, when he got there, he said everything was like thrown about as if someone had just left because, he had been approaching with his minor paraphernalia. So they must have been clanging and banging along the way to get there, but he said that people left in a hurry when he made his approach.
Where'd they go?
Excuse me?
Where would they go?
Where would they go? Probably further in. It's like just down the road, possibly.
Did they dig this out, or was this part of the hollow earth?
This was dug out. It was man-made, and it was lit up inside of this tunnel system that went for 11 miles down to where he found the village. So it was a man-made tunnel that was constructed, for these people to get to this village.
Huge. What would possess, Stephan, people to live underground like that?
Well, what would possess them is we have 2 things in history. We had the Ice Age, and we had the Great Flood, which all the religions talk about, and every culture has their own version of these 2 disastrous events. So these 2 events is what prompted people to go into a shelter mode.
What a remarkable story. Has anybody since been able to go down there or find this?
Well, there are entrances that there are a number of entrances that lead to this village or this city there, but a lot of them because of the glacier runoff from the mountain, the silt, and the rocks falling have been sealed off and are very hazardous to try to venture further. So you'd be kind of risking your life to kind of try to go through these old caves or tunnel passageways that existed.
Now, in your particular case, Stephan, where you believe you're the reincarnated version of this guy, have you had strange dreams or anything like that would tie you into this area, this region?
Well, interestingly enough, when I first discovered that J.C. Brown was not J.C. Brown, he was John Benjamin Body, and I got his photo, I was sitting there one day in my apartment. So I went into a meditative state, and I'm a psychic clairvoyant, and I pick things up. So I had the photo, and I put it up to my third eye, and I just looked at the photo. I said, "Tell me how this happened," And then I got that I had to follow border crossings, and I got that they came into the United States and went on the Southern Pacific Railroad, making their way up to Dunsmuir, California, and they even showed me the route. And then in my mind's eye, I saw the train cars, the old train cars that he was sitting in with other gentlemen, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, so what does this mean? So I was able to go and get some maps, old railroad maps and whatever, and what I was able to learn was that they went to the Shasta Springs Resort in Dunsmuir, California, to go there to vacation. These guys were millionaires, and they went there, and they were on the grounds there. Walking around the grounds, they saw this unusual basalt rock formation, and being they were all geologists, they decided that they were going to dig this out. So going through the border crossings, I was able to tie in John Benjamin Body with Lord Cowdray, who was really born Sir Wheatman Pearson, and he was knighted in 1915. But on the border crossings, just as the legend said, 1904, there I had John Benjamin Body and Lord Cowdray coming in from Laredo, Texas, into the United States. So I was able to place them into the United States. And as I looked more into the border crossings, George, I got to see more of how this happened.
Have you had past life regression hypnosis?
Yes, I've had it once.
And did that amount to anything?
Yes, it did. It came up with a number of other existences that I've had, But this one is the strongest where I have supporting evidence to back it up.
That is something else. When did J.C. Brown die?
J.C. Brown died in May of 1940.
1940. Of natural causes or something?
Of natural causes, yes, in Scotland.
Well, that's one good thing.
And I reappeared here in this embodiment in 53. So 13 years later, I just came back out.
And here you are.
And here I am. Yes,
obsessed with this story, aren't you?
Well, here's the thing, George. My John Benjamin's daughter, who survived him when he passed in 40, her name was Millicent Body. My mother's name is Millicent.
Oh, boy.
So I'm like, what are the odds that my mother and the daughter that I may have had, named in the previous embodiment had the same name? Plus, my mom is of Scottish and English ancestry, just like the man of the legend. I said to myself, is the universe playing tricks with me or have a sense of humor? I wonder.
All right, stay with us, Stephen.